Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I know those of you that join us regularly, you hear that same intro because I always say this. It's super cool that it doesn't matter where we are in this world, we can all come together at the same time in the same place. So I welcome everyone. For me, I'm here in Houston, Texas. So we are now at the 10 o'clock. So we're still in the morning. Michelle, why don't you share with everyone where you're located?
Hello, everybody. I'm Michelle Griffin, and I'm coming in from Pensacola, Florida, also in Central Time Zone, 10 a.m. So it's bright and early Friday, sunny morning here as well.
Awesome. So, in the comments below, I want you to just share with us where you are located. And we are just a shy bit late, mostly because of me, because I was on another live stream that, oh, by the way, I did not actually know that I should be live streaming for some reason. So I was a little bit late. If I look away from Michelle, it is only for a brief moment because I'm going to make sure I got everything set up so I can see your comments. But I want to welcome everyone here. I'm super excited. For those of you that join me here on Coffees with Denise, it is on Friday mornings where, I talk about sales, AI, and humanity. This is the humanity aspect. This is really bringing in people of whom I love, who I want to make sure that I share with the people in my network, let you get to know them a bit more, what they're doing, what's allowed them to or fostered this success that they've created, and just really get to know them in a way that allows us to understand them as human beings, which I think in this world of AI and technology, it's so important for us to focus on one another and our humanity. So I want to welcome you all for joining me. And more importantly, or maybe not more importantly, but just as important, is that Michelle is here joining us. I am so super excited that she's here. I'm not going to do her a disservice by introducing her, but I will share before she introduces herself how we met, because it's been like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And what Michelle was one of the first people when I first came on LinkedIn. She was one of the first people that for some reason we just connected. I had an opportunity to engage with her in the comments. We had a conversation actually by Zoom. I can remember you were driving, I think, in the car when we had that conversation. I mean, it was super cool to be able to engage with someone who I thought was way better than I was and had this following. And so I just thought, little old me, and she's going to have a conversation. But she kind of took me under her wing, under her LinkedIn wing, and really just helped to foster this and nurture this feeling that I had about being included and just being human. And so, Michelle, I want to thank you for inviting me into your world way back when, and I'm super excited to share more of her and what she's doing. So, Michelle, you take it over and do an introduction for us, because I certainly can't do the introduction that I know you deserve.
Well, you set that backstory up perfectly. Thank you so much for that. And we'll get into that. But yeah, thank you. I can remember, I think it was actually you in the car. You hadn't even left your job when we were chatting about all things on your new path. But yes, let me officially introduce myself. My name is Michelle Griffin, coming to you from Pensacola, Florida, AKA the brand therapist and founder of Standout Women Media. And what I do is help women experts, authors, and speakers really transform into visible brand authorities. My whole mission is to create more women thought leaders. And I do that with personal branding, positioning, PR, and LinkedIn visibility, all the things that can just really propel women with transformative work and ideas. That's my big mission, to just really lift them up, get them visible, build that credibility, and take them to where they need to be to make the impact they are here to make. And so let's talk about how far you've come, Denise. When we first met, I think that might have been in 2021, 2022. And I have just seen you blossom and just propel. You became that LinkedIn top voice. You've got so really clear and confident and cohesive in your messaging, all you're doing. And I absolutely embrace the AI and the human, the marrying of human, because I believe that AI, if not done correctly, can rob us of our critical reading, writing, thinking, and humanity. And I don't think AI is a bad thing. I think it can be a useful tool, but there are stipulations, and I believe the connection point needs to be brought in. So I really, really love and support all you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it took me a long time to get to this point, right? It was a complete evolution, and it was because of the influences like yourself, right? You have a community that really focuses on branding and the things that you're doing on LinkedIn that are successful and how we can get better. And I think I was inspired by that when I first met you. I think you were going through that 365-day
Challenge.
posting.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
where she was posting every single day. I mean, I post a lot, but it's been off and on. It's not been consistently every day. And there were weeks that I didn't post a single post. And so, I was just amazed and awed at what Michelle was doing at the moment. But, my evolution has been because of people like yourself who have really gotten me there. And you've had your own evolution though here
Yes.
recently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's so normal when we're getting out there, and the reason why I did that challenge in 2021, because I like you had started my business in 2020, of course, the pandemic and everything, but I saw and sat on the sidelines for 9 months. I saw that LinkedIn was the visibility hotspot, especially then, and even so now, but until to being seen and really reaching the right people, we need to be visible. That's why for those watching, you will see behind me the mantra in my sign, PYOT, put yourself out there. That has been my battle cry. I have a keynote signature on the power and the payoff. And I recently rebranded our community to the PYOT, put yourself out there community, because I know when you do, the magic happens. But yeah, so I had an evolution too, and I really believe when you put yourself out there, you get the clarity, you get the confidence, you get all the things, but you got to take that action. It doesn't happen until you do. So that's why I'm so passionate about helping women get visible and stepping out to stand out.
Well, too, something that I've learned, and I know because I've watched your evolution as well. I assuming can be dangerous, so maybe you can confirm, but I feel like that when you put yourself out there and you start executing on whatever that is, for me, it was writing content. But as I wrote more and more content and I engaged in more conversations because of that content, that's really what fostered this evolution, right? It allowed me to get better at my messaging. It allowed me to actually decide if that was even the right messaging. And if not, what should I adopt in place of that? What resonates with people? And it was just putting myself out there and having the conversations that allowed me to get to the point where I feel like I'm actually clear and I know what I want to do. But it was an evolution, right?
Absolutely. I call that owning your lane. And you'll see the yellow book behind me is what I'll have out October 15th this year. And it's all about helping women experts really own their lane of where they're meant to be. And I love that you just said that I want to do, because I did that too. I went out there, did a bunch of things. You try things out, you test things. You're at the end of the day, I want it to be internal clarity and things that light you up. We can do a lot of things, right? But we need to do just one thing that we're known for. But let's start with that. It lights you up and you have a flow versus a friction point when you do it, because that is going to help you sustain it. Those days when you said you wouldn't post, those are the days you'll realize, even though I don't want to post, I have a mission. I have someone here to transform. And so that keeps you back on track, so to speak. But yeah, so my evolution was this fall. I realized after ignoring the signposts that were there all along, that I'm really meant to work with women entrepreneurs. In fact, those 5 years before I left my job, when I was journaling and doing all the things, I would write little places. I have found them in journals where I say that's what I want to do. But, we ignore ourselves and we have to get out there and figure it out. But on February 1st this year, I officially rebranded my consultancy to Standout Women Media. And it's really just working with women to become more thought leaders in the respective fields. So it feels good, just like you. When you find it, you are owning your lane. And I was telling someone I liked what I did before, but now I love what I do. Like when I go to bed at night, I'm really excited to wake up in the morning because I love what I do and I get to make an impact doing what I do.
I love that because I think that we as individuals all have gifts we can share. And when we're sharing those gifts, I think that's where the magic happens, right? When I had this love, when I first started on LinkedIn, I had this love-hate relationship. And like I mentioned, I'd go weeks without posting. But when I shifted my mind space and really when I really understood what my clarity was and what my lane was, I then started to own it a bit more and it became more fun. So now I'm generating tons of content, but it's because I actually enjoy it. It doesn't seem, I mean, sure, there are days that show up for me where, it super daunting in that particular day, or maybe I'm not in the right headspace, and so it's not even just daunting, I just don't even know what to even get out there. But I actually, for the most part, just enjoy it, right? It's a lot of fun because I know that someone's paying attention, and I've got my, not only my opinion, but I really want to help people. And so if I can bring them in and help them, then man, I've done what I need, because I've led with serving and I've gotten something back out of that.
It always comes back to you too. People can feel that realness in you, that you're truly there to serve them, and it's something you don't even need to communicate because they can feel it. And one of the things I know you did and I did, we got really what I call narrow laned and this own your lane thing. The niche, people struggle. I don't like to use the word niche because it's a roadblock in itself. Just the word gives us, anxiety. So narrow laning helps us get traction faster so that you can start being top of mind and meet the right people. And I know you've done that in the last year with all the conferences and things that you've talked at, hosted. When you get really clear, the right people start, because let's face it, there's 8 billion plus people on LinkedIn in every area. We're just inundated. So getting really specific on who we're for and how we help them is a definite way to fast track out there.
Yes, and then I think you have to take that a step further and actually understand your value, and then start to have the conversations with people. Because I think the differentiators, when we engage, because look, the reality is we're all in sales, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales. And the differentiator between us and any other person out there selling and pushing their stuff is the human connection that you
Yeah.
foster and create with them.
Oh, absolutely. And that's definitely part of owning your lane. You have to know, in fact, that's number one of the 7 steps is your perspective. You have to absolutely go internal clarity on your beliefs, your perspectives, all the ways you see things internally and also externally for the people you're here for, really honing in on the problem you're solving for them. And also my goal to have more women thought leaders because of AI, and we can generate content like this. That's a commodity. We need more of your personal insights, your personal stories, different ways of thinking that we cannot punch out from a chat GPT prompt, right? That is just a commodity now. So we need more people, more women out there sharing. And that sometimes is hard. You don't just show up on LinkedIn one day. You have to do the work. You do the work internally, you do the work, and you realize that, as you say, in having conversations and getting out there, and it all just starts becoming more and more clear. And I know that you've seen that in the last year or so. And it's just been tremendous watching you, Denise, on how far you've come when you really owned into that.
Well, and I think too, it also, when you talk about putting yourself out there, executing, um, it's also just showing up even on the days when no one may truly be listening, right? So, on the days where, like, for example, last week, I think I had someone that couldn't make the show. So I could have said, okay, I'm just not going to do the show. And we've rescheduled them, so it wasn't that they didn't want to, and it wasn't just that they'd forgotten. Something really truly came up and they just couldn't participate in the show, so we've already rescheduled them. I could have said, you know what, I'm just not going to do the show, but instead I showed up and did it on my own. Now I was only on there for 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Excuse me, but I showed up. So I think it's also resilience and perseverance, just getting out there even on the days when it just doesn't seem like anything is, it feels like more things are against you than they are for you, and just executing, again, going back to that execution. But even on the days where it just seems like no one's listening or no one's paying attention, they are actually listening and paying attention, maybe not in that very moment, but they will be. So you just got to keep showing up.
Absolutely, and that speaks volumes to you and your brand, and they are seeing you. And it might be that they're so busy and they can't comment or something, but they see you, and each step you take out there and keep out there is one step toward that bigger thing. And it's the people who give up. You and I have both seen, since we both met, a couple of years ago, the people we used to know, they're not there. And I'm not faulting them, but it's just those that stay in the game are the ones you're seeing propel, going faster and faster. And we just have to realize that that's human nature. And I believe that's the downside of social media. It conditions us to think, if we don't get likes, we don't get this, then we're not worth it or we're not worthy. Nope, that's not true at all. I absolutely know people on LinkedIn who may not even have a huge following, but they are just making the impact, with their work, with their bank accounts, just with the client results. So I love that the fact that on on Instagram, you can turn off likes. And I do that because I don't want to see any of that. I just want to put my stuff out there for the people I'm here for, and just know that some days there'll be an ebb and flow, but you got to stay in the game to really make the impact and meet the people. Otherwise, they don't know who you are, right?
I agree with you. Okay. But in order for us to, you talked about the 7 steps, right? So the first one was you really got to dig deep inside, right?
Yeah.
And get your own clarity and the understanding as to why. When you're taking someone through the steps, how easy is it when you're working with your clients? How easy is it for them to actually walk through those steps? Or do you find clients that, women who are resistant to some of those steps because of maybe something we've learned as a behavior that we should take on? Have you seen some of that?
Well, I love that that's an excellent question, and that's so important. And so I work with women who are ready so that I know, but on my 7 steps, that's the brand GPS, but the overall own your lane concept has 4 pillars, which I'll share to make it easy and simple for today. And so that's exactly to answer your question. The first step of your journey out there is PYOT, put yourself out there. Now, not just the act of it, the deciding, the mindset that yes, you have value, you have a message, expertise that needs to be out there, and you're ready. Because if you're not ready and you're not going to make the commitment, it's not time for you yet,
Mhm.
honestly. But it also, and when I wrote the LinkedIn branding book with my co-author, Michelle J. Raymond, we even covered mindset in that book and the framework, because if you don't have that mindset locked in, and I know it's a daily, I call it your daily mindset vitamin is what we need. You're not going to do the work. You're not going to stay in it, but let's flip the switch. It's not for you. It's of you, but it's for those you're here to serve. So PYOT is the absolute first one. I have a whole PYOT framework on that. A lot of this will be in the book when it comes out, but that's the first one. So once you're like, yes, like you like, I'm getting out there. I remember when we met, you're like, I'm getting out there, and you were so determined and you got out there. I mean, you're the prime example right now of how we're illustrating this. The next one is purpose. What is your purpose? Your being. Now, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but we have to dig in, like we said, that internal clarity of who we are, beliefs, all those things, but also talk about the person we're here for. What's their problem? Let's talk about this in sales. You know this, Denise. You're solving problems, right?
Mhm.
You're supporting, you're serving. So that's huge on your purpose. Once you dial that in, then you start building out that presence. All the visual, the verbal, the messaging, all that on your brand, on social, on your platforms, everywhere. And we build that presence and really start publishing and getting things out there and really building your visibility. And then the last stage is platform, where you're really propelling with doing more speaking, maybe writing a book, doing your own podcast, your show. You're really building a platform around your message, your values, and who you're here for. So there's 4 ways, the 4 pillars of Own Your Lane is exactly that. And when you just do it, you feel in the flow. And like you said, not every day is perfect, but that's life in general. But you are making transformative impact, income, influence, doing what you're exactly here to do.
Speaking of the platform one, you actually just did a live, which I missed, with someone who is, and
Yeah,
Jen is
Jen
her name.
Lafine. Jen
Yes,
Lafine. Yes, yes.
yes, on writing a book, which I was so super excited to try to get to attend. I think you've got a challenge coming out of that as well, or she's doing a challenge. Y'all are doing a
We're doing
challenge.
it together. Yes, we're
Okay,
doing
so
it
awesome. So
together.
maybe share that, because I know some of us would. I've been aspiring. Hell, I just said a cuss word. Sorry. I wanted to write a book when I was a kid. Right now, what I wanted to write about has evolved over the years, right? But I've
Yes.
always had this book in me, and I haven't. And I'm probably not the only person out there. So maybe share a little bit about that. I think that's super exciting.
Okay, well, I will tell you that's exactly it. So it all started because I announced on February 1st my second book. Okay. And then April 15th this year, I announced the exact date it's coming out, October 15th. But going back to when you mentioned my accountability challenge a couple years ago, I know for me, I have to have public accountability to get things done. So I announced on April 15th, I'm getting it out. I'm going to do a digital diary thing that's coming out on a podcast. I had women message me, and then I reached out to Jen Lafine, who is an accountability mindset success mentor for women. She will crack that whip and you will do it in the most sincere way. But anyway, so we're teaming up because she is writing her book as well. And so we decided that we're going to have a 4-week coaching cohort where we're going to take people to write 30,000 words in 30 days. I know that sounds like a lot. And we're going to coach you weekly and you're going to have accountability and you're going to do it. And then at the end of 30 days, you're going to have your book draft done, which is incredible because that's the key to opportunities. Before you publish or anything, you've got to have that book draft. So that's what we talked about. I can put a link in the show notes here with it's standoutwomenmedia.com/write my book. I can put it in the chat.
Yes.
If I can I do chat here as we speak,
No,
or
you
do I have to
can.
go on LinkedIn? Okay, they
You
should.
have to go on
Streamer
LinkedIn.
should let you do that.
But if
Anyway,
you just put it in our private comments, I'll put it on LinkedIn for
oh,
you.
okay, yes,
Yeah.
okay. So, anyway, so what it is you've heard of NaNoWriMo, whatever. I can never say that word. The November thing. You ever heard of that national
Oh,
thing?
Movember is that
Yes. Yes.
Movember?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm the one who's like, let's make it May marathon for business books because that one in November is for fiction and poetry. You write 50,000 words and you're on your own.
Oh no, this
So,
is not the one I was thinking. Okay, so totally different.
so
Movember
the
is
one I'm doing is the May
okay.
one we're doing. And here's the catch. We're writing two with you. We're writing our 30,000 words. I've got to finish my draft by the end of May. And we're going to even have open writing rooms at 5:30 a.m. But here's a catch because I've had people ask me, do I have a topic? Yes, that's a pretty good idea. But listen, I am all for this concept. This might be for you, Denise.
Okay.
There is an excellent a guy I follow. His name is Chris Stanley on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And he's an author. He's written like 25 books, but one of them is called the mini book model. I read it a year ago. And his concept is, I think the mini book model is showing you what a mini book is 60 pages. But his philosophy is these short books become a business boosting asset, a business card. It basically shares your perspective, your frameworks, kind of what we're talking about for thought
Mhm.
leadership in a short form book. And he also talks about how people are busy, all the things we've been saying today. So I was telling someone who messaged me, I'm like, a small book could be an opportunity. Maybe you don't need to write 30,000. Maybe you just do 15. I think he told me that 60 pages was 15,000 words. I need to ask him, but it
Oh yeah,
wasn't.
that'd be good to know.
Yeah. So I'm like, that might be something. And I know, shout out to my friend Jillian Whitney. She recently this year or last fall wrote 2 short books and they're on Amazon. So that might be a way to start because I get it. Writing a book's intimidating and it seems it's a process, but I promise you it is worth after we wrote the first book, it changed everything. But anyway, so I digress because I get really excited because it's one of those tools where women and really in general, but the women I work with can become the thought leaders in their fields for their area of expertise.
I love that because so this is going to be really weird. And we are not here to talk about me. We are here really to talk about Michelle. But this is sharing some of my story that is in
Mhm.
alignment with what she's messaging here, right? Which is,
Mhm.
really how to put yourself out there, become that thought leader, especially us as women. But I was in the shower not too long ago and I thought that's where I do my best thinking. And I was thinking it would be so super cool if I could write a mini book, once a quarter and then compile them into one book. But like the topic would be how has AI changed in the course of 2024 in sales, right? And I thought that would
Mhm.
be so super cool. But now you have just confirmed. So for those
Wow.
of you out there who are thinking, what could I do? Maybe it's something just as simple as that. So you could write just a little
Get
mini
started.
book like I am considering, and then you could compile whether they are standalone books as Chris Stanley potentially suggests, or Jillian Whitney has done, or maybe it's that you compile them together at the end and create a larger book. I don't know, but
That's brilliant. I put the link there. That's what Chris, he knows. And the funny thing is in that book, it talks about his second book on that. And I've been bugging him. It's a running joke with us. Where's your second book on that? But he even told me, he and I were working in the DMs and he said, I was telling him about my 7-step process. And he goes, Michelle, you could actually just write 7 little books on each one of your processes and then just combine it later. And I said, that's a really good idea. So, but I'm not going to do that. But down the road, I already have ideas for smaller offshoot books from this. But people are busy and it's a short. I have another friend, Stacy Danheiser. She wrote a short book, and she's the author and co-author of 3 big books. Some are academics, and she recently last year wrote a smaller book as well. So I absolutely agree that this is a wonderful way to get started. See if you like it, and just really make that an asset for your business, your brand, to start speaking. You name it. It's a conversation. Getting back to the conversation, it's a
Yeah.
conversation starter.
So let's maybe segue into speaking, because I know that it seems like either you're all on board and you want to speak, but you have no idea how to actually start to speak, or you don't really understand the value of speaking. So it might not even be on your radar, but you want to become this thought leader. Maybe tell us a little bit about some of the values and benefits and how we go about actually trying to get on stage and speak, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I think have a point of view and a clear niche message on who you're here for and the topic, make it pretty specific, and how you transform. That's how you're going to, anything, you're going to get the biggest
Mhm.
traction. People ask me, should I speak or have a book? That I'm not going to say one or the other, but I know if you clarify your message, even in a short book, speaking is easy and comes off shoot. You can sell the book from stage. Speaking has been one of the best ways that I have met clients, collaborations. And let's not even say speaking doesn't always have to be physically in front of a group of people. It can be on a podcast. It can be on LinkedIn Lives like this. It can be in webinars, workshops, other people's communities. I've done all of the above. And it truly is the best way to connect. Going back to that human connection and conversation, people see you, feel you in the presence. And so I have had a fantastic, that's probably one of my best ways to meet the right people, and the people I'm here to serve, rather. And so and I have clients that are writing books, and then get really clear on their message after that, and so they can really amplify their speaking. So it really works hand in hand, having a book, to become that thought leader in your field.
I love that. I've gone the opposite direction. I've done more of the speaking
Hmm.
than the book writing, but that's only because actually, I don't know. I could probably make an excuse after excuse. If I just really sat down and did it, then, it might help me. But okay, but let's just say you've got someone who's crazy like me and who hasn't written a book yet. But on the flip side, I do a lot of I do a lot of speaking. But for those of us who maybe not there speaking yet, maybe not, not into writing a book, or feel like they don't have time, they can't join your challenge, which I think is so super awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
But then what are some other ways that we can put ourselves out there to become this thought leader? What are some other mediums or platforms that we can leverage?
That's a great question. We don't have to start at the top. In fact, I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I didn't write my first book till 18 months ago. So some people, it's everyone's different, right? So let's
Mhm.
definitely talk about other options. So for me, I knew, especially if we're in the space and maybe the B2B, a professional space, LinkedIn is a prime place to do that. Start small and build out. You can just either start posting. I even say, if you're not even on LinkedIn, just make sure your profile is really positioned for who you are and shows you in the best light. So you're known for that something. Then maybe start commenting. That's one baby step out there, commenting, getting in front of the right people. Then you can start posting, and that doesn't even have to be all the time. Okay. So that's another way to just start posting on LinkedIn. You're going to get your feet wet. You're going to, build your confidence by commenting, giving yourself runway. Then there's things like LinkedIn newsletters, LinkedIn articles. And I will tell you, those are gold mines, because you can search Google and they show up. I cannot tell you how many times I'm doing research, which is like every other day, and I find articles or newsletters, and then I'm introduced to a whole nother person, and even the people commenting on their insightful stuff. So that's a really good thing. You can start guesting on podcasts, or have LinkedIn live shows, or LinkedIn audios rooms, whatever. Actually, remember when you said what lights you up? I want to really caution, make sure it's sustainable and lights you up, because if, say, you don't like video, it makes no sense for you to force yourself to get on video. Maybe you're a good conversationalist, audio is your thing, or whatever. So know what lights you up, where your people are, and just baby step it. Because going back to conversations, Every conversation leads to an opportunity, believe it or not. Sometimes they're not so obvious, but you're planting seeds, and that's what we need to be doing out there.
I love that because when we're talking about planting seeds, it is sometimes it's not that they're going to engage with you directly to hire you, but they have referred you over to
Yes.
someone, or it's just that they have tagged someone in your content, or they've sent over your information to someone somehow, some way. Just having a being that human getting out there, while it may not be with that person directly, it's going to be
Yes.
someone that's involved in their or in their network. Sorry, Isaiah is joining us. Sorry, he's giving us a cheers.
Hey, Isaiah. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to caution though, no matter what you do and get out there, be, as clear as you can. I usually say get your guardrails to have some kind of
Mhm.
clarity. And that all starts back saying like your LinkedIn profile, treat it like your personal brand website, that headline, make sure it's really clear and specificity sells, the salesperson in you,
Mhm.
specificity sells. So I know top of mind, oh, this person can help me or so and so. And I'm always referring people because they're top of mind on what they do and who they're helping. And that's clear. Now, are we going to nail it the first time? Absolutely not. But we have some kind of inclination of what you do. Clear is always better than cute and clever.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I agree. And you don't it may take you a little bit longer through trial and error, but you have a ton of resources out here, so you don't actually have to go through that much trial and error. You can
Yeah.
actually work with people who are willing to, I mean, we're in this age, this entrepreneur age right now where you see entrepreneurs left and right. So there is someone
Yeah.
out there willing to help you, so you don't have to go through all of those trials and tribulations over
Yep.
an extended period of time. Instead, you can accelerate your success if you work with those individuals who can help you get there faster and cleaner and more
Yeah.
concisely.
Oh, you're talking to someone who wasted 5 years. I like it, look at it as a lessons, experience
Yes,
learned, but I
yes, yes.
truly did muddle around for 5 years, not asking for help instead of DIY content. That all has its place, but if you don't have the professional clarity on who you are and how you want to get out there, it makes it so much harder. And those things, while they're good, they're really not needed till later. So even if you pay someone, find a mentor, whatever, just start having conversations at the end of the day with people. They're going to pick up on stuff. The conversation, the ideas just always pop from it. You're going to get that much clearer each time you talk to someone. And one of the things I like to do is have on Zoom, I have something called Fathom.video. I'm not an
Mhm.
affiliate, it's free, and it will record your video, audio, transcript, and AI summary. And you can pick up a lot of the golden gems that you are saying and they're saying back to you, that when you're not forced to write or something, it flows, the true self and the words that you describe and what you mean and what you stand for. They really flow, and you can look for the clues there as well.
I believe that every time you can have a conversation, whether that's live, on Zoom or in the comments, even in the DMs for that matter, you are honing in on your messaging each single time, and you're learning more that helps foster even growth for you, right? Within the service offering or your business or even yourself personally. Because I do believe that from a professional perspective, you have to take care of yourself personally in order to truly
Mhm.
be successful as well. So anytime you can continue to have conversations, it will enable you to progress in ways that you probably don't even know right away.
Oh, it's exactly right. Just don't stay hidden, held back, and hopeless like I did, talk to people. There's more than enough information out there. That's why I started, back in the day, my community started that first year in 2021, the 365 challenge, and we now morphed into PYOT. It is a place where I welcome people to come for a supportive peer run place. We're going to support you, help you when you're ready to put yourself out there. I know you're in the community, you're a wonderful vocal supporter. We appreciate that because there's a lot of experts out there. There's a lot of people who have so much to give and they're just feeling held back. And I felt like that too. And Denise, the funny thing is, I'm the most extroverted person there is. Like, I will talk to anyone, but when you put me online, especially when I first got out there, I call myself an online introvert, especially because LinkedIn can be, scary at first. It's
Scary,
really,
overwhelming,
yeah,
daunting. I
yeah.
mean, there's tons of words to describe.
Yes, absolutely. But it's very common, and you'd be surprised. I work anywhere from CEOs to physicians, lawyers, consultants. They all feel the same way in some degree. It's very natural.
It is natural. And I think it's just, if you're not feeling challenged, if you're not feeling like an imposter, if you're not
Yes.
scared or overwhelmed, then you aren't putting yourself in a position to grow.
Exactly. Now, my colleague who I'm going to be teaching, Jen Lafine, she calls that our comfort cave. We cannot stay in our comfort cave. And
No.
I love that analogy because you're right. The comfort cave is where we would, where dreams go to die, I always like to say. So that's the sign you're ready to go bigger when you have that imposter syndrome and that I don't want to do it. But the other side of it is transformative. And, they always say the people who die, they regret the things they didn't do more
Yep.
than anything. So
Yep. Yep.
that's
Okay.
why I'm here.
So when someone comes to work with you, do you still focus on, I heard your four steps loud and clear, right?
Mhm.
But when you're talking about your purpose and putting yourself out there and then the platforms, and you talk about, optimizing your profile, making sure that it's really out there and ready. Do you do all components of the branding as well, like you used to, or do you partner with someone to focus on that, and then you just focus on taking them from the basics to now the thought leader?
I do it all in what I call the Visible Brand Authority Accelerator for my women experts, authors, speakers. And what it is, it's a combination of the whole 7-step own your lane framework. Basically, I take them from, we get really clear in 4 steps and in 30 days almost, and give them that roadmap that has the brand strategy. It has the LinkedIn visibility revamp, profile revamp. It has your PR and media toolkits and assets in it. So it's the whole 9 yards, getting really clear in your brand strategy, brand structure. And then I have support because I know during those 4 weeks and 2 weeks after, you're going to need me and I'll help you really get out there. But no, I do it all myself. And it's really that strategy and roadmap. And so when my clients have it, so they love it. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm clear, confident, and cohesive in everything I do. So what they do after that, they'll either go and implement it with their team. They might hire other people to take it up, say like a website person. So I'm giving them all strategy. I don't really do the implementation work. They get everything in a beautifully 30-page, beautiful brand roadmap that's gorgeously designed. When I show it on discovery calls, people are like, wow, that's so cool. I love it. And then they can either do it themselves, have their staff, their team, or they hire, but they have everything they need to get out there and up level, which is tremendous. And then women come back to me and I help them, maybe go deeper in some PR strategy, or, we'll start a podcast, or we'll outline what your book will look like, or whatever for their next stage of their journey. But I truly am here for your support and strategy partner. And it's the best work I love doing. And it's me owning my lane when I do.
Well, when we first spoke, I mean, I knew you loved what you did then,
Mhm.
and it seemed like you did. Like you didn't not show that you didn't love, but I can see a difference in the way
Oh,
that you talk
thank
about.
you.
Yeah, I mean, just the energy behind it and the lightness. I don't even know if I wonder if when you look back, and maybe it's my own perception, but it'd be interesting to know if you look back at like the videos that you've done in the past versus the one you've done now. It seems like you're in this amazing space right now. It wasn't that you were in a bad space
Yeah.
then. It was just, I see you in this different space, and it's just an amazing opportunity to see you shining and glowing. And I don't know, you look lighter than you did then. And I know that sounds a bit frou-frou, and
No,
I
I
think,
also am 10 pounds lighter. I swear the weight came off, you name it. I'm not the best diet ever out there. No, but, other friends and colleagues and connections have told me that. Even friends overseas that former clients and stuff, who we WhatsApp, they're like, "I can see it, feel it in your voice, Michelle." It's truly how I like to say, Denise, that I try to be the guide who's just a few steps ahead of my women clients who come to me for help, and I like to just show them, and this is it. This is me owning my lane so that you will absolutely be so giddy and so excited and not even want to go to bed at night because you're like, I get to, you're so excited for the next day. And that is truly my life's mission, is to help women own that for them and just get out there in a bigger way. And Yeah, and it was all because I got narrow laned. I really owned in to who I was and what I needed and where I was meant to serve. And then, and let's face it, I probably could have used more. I know I took way longer than anyone else because I did it all myself. When I help my clients, we're so close to it, they get out there like that. But I'm stubborn and I have gotten help in other areas, but I'm very intuitive and I like to just, deep think on a lot of things, but get that help is what I would love to have people, like you said.
Yeah, well, and the reality is the thing that you are teaching, we as individuals, when we want to share our gifts, it's because we've learned things along the way that have enabled us to become experts, maybe not always the right word, but to be good at what we're doing, right? And so you
Mhm.
had to experience that. You've hired and leveraged coaches in
Oh,
other
yeah.
areas, but as it relates to this that you're helping others with, you went through that on your own because quite honestly, you had to in order to be the best coach that you possibly can to your clients, which is, I guess, the point that I'm trying to make here for those that are listening. I mean, you should always seek out help. I think you're only as strong as your weakest link. When you are your weakest link, then, I mean, how the hell are you going to get past that on your own, right?
Exactly.
You
Those
need
5 years I was struggling, someone told me your struggle is your story, and that is the story I tell my clients who are
yeah.
ready to go to the next level, and I help them see through that. But don't get me wrong, I have brand strategy client or colleagues that I'll bounce ideas off of, but I haven't hired another brand strategist for me just because I don't know. I think it's just too personal. I don't know. But I have hired lots of other coaches for other things. I
You
agree.
have. I mean, I know you and I've spoken about that. You
Yeah.
have coaches for other, and
Yeah.
you've leveraged them. And so I guess the thought that I was going with that is for maybe clarity is
Yes.
this. I think that if you're out there providing a service, you have to go through that,
Yeah.
whatever service you're providing, you have to, I mean, so your 5 year struggle was a struggle that helped you develop this amazing program so you can help other clients.
Yes.
That being said, if I relate it back to me, I'm really good at sales. So, I feel like there are areas, but there's a niche. So I know I suck at cold calling, not
Mhm.
because I can't do it. I can do it and I'm not fearful of it and I don't mind, but my success rate is really, really low. So that's not, I don't teach that. I don't want to teach that because I'm not going to spend the cycles in trying to learn it.
Yeah.
Instead, I would just hire someone. So I
Yeah.
think differentiating where you should spend your time. If I am going to teach sales, I'm not going to necessarily spend the time in hiring someone else because I've got to work through that. Now, there
Yeah.
are, if I'm talking about, but I niched it down. So if I relate it back to cold calling, and I know the thoughts that I'm trying to get out in my head. So hopefully you guys are
No,
following me.
it's clear. Yeah, absolutely. And it's relatable to the people you're here to help as well. And we shouldn't have to do all the things. Like, I don't want to go pitch and pitch for clients. So I send them to trusted women, partners that are going to do the podcast publicity and media pitching. I will give you the strategy, the story angles, the everything, but that's not what I want to do. So going back to what lights you up, the flow versus the friction and where you're good and where you can scale your impact and opportunity is another thing.
Oh, you just cleared that up and summarized it way better than I did. So thank you for that. That was awesome. So I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time, including yours, and we are coming to a close. We've spent a good 45 minutes here. You've got some good things coming up, which is you've got this book challenge that you're doing in May. You've
Mhm,
also got your book that you're releasing. You've put the date out there for October 15th, if I am
mhm.
correct, right?
Yes.
You got some good things coming. If you and you've shared a lot about some of the things that you're doing to help other women become these thought leaders. You've shared some of your past experiences. If you could leave maybe one parting thought with everyone, what would that be?
I'm going to say the cliche, put yourself out there and really know that when you're on the sidelines, feeling hidden, held back, hopeless, I've been there too, you're helping no one and you have message, expertise, something that will transform others. And it's just a matter of getting out there and the answers will come. I lived it. I lived it for 5 years, stuck in a circle of content. It's not, you got to have conversations. I lived it for 9 months on LinkedIn sidelines. So the transformation and the magic happens when you do. And there's people there to support you, as you said so well. You don't have to do this alone.
You
So
don't.
Yeah, so just find someone, and, I just wanna really cheer you on and support you to make that first step today because you have value that matters and makes a difference.
That is anyone who's listening out there. I mean, I put my hands together because that speaks to all of us, right? So when
Mhm.
you're listening, whether you're on Team Live or Team Replay, you've got people in your in the boxing match with you who are willing to support you and help you become successful. So just reach out. Michelle is amazing. I'm so glad that we've had an opportunity
Thank
to
you.
share a little bit about Michelle, what she's doing, what some of the great things she's got coming up, and really how then can we all contact or engage with you best.
Oh, well, thank you so much again for having me as your guest. I always love chatting with you, whatever way it is. Yeah, so I would love if you're listening live or on the replay, I would love to meet you. Send me a DM or, connect with me and tell me you saw me here. I always just love the context because you know why? That's the conversation starter. That's why I always love when people do connection requests. So we have context because that's how conversations breed and start and flourish. So you can check me out there. I'm active like 3 times a week now, and I'm always there every day. And also Michelle B. Griffin. The B stands for brand, michellebgriffin.com. And there's a link to my Standout Women Media site as well. And I'll be partnering as soon as I get through finishing the draft. I'm going to be having more events and more things to help women, get out there. And that's my big goal for Standout Women. And but the main thing is to finish the book so I can then get to the publicity, PR, marketing part. That's my best side of it.
And
But
Michelle does an awesome launch party, so
yes.
which she did for the last one. So I'm looking forward to the next
Yeah,
launch
we're
party.
gonna have a blast. And you can go to ownyourlanebook.com and sign up for the early release and VIP. I am gonna be releasing because I like public accountability. I was just doing the research on the best format. I am gonna be releasing my book journey process about writing, produce all the things really soon on Substack. And I will be emailing everyone from that. So that I just want to share it because you know what? I figure if I'm sharing it, just like I did in 2021 on LinkedIn, it'll inspire more people, more women to put themselves out there and realize it's not hard. Just, I'm here to help, right?
Yep, and I would say my parting word from or my parting message from all of this is really just as whether you're a male or a female. So, we've been talking a lot to women here because that's really where Michelle spends a lot of her time, but it doesn't matter whether you're a male or a female,
Yeah.
man or woman, just execute. I mean, you have a gift that everyone, and if you don't know what that gift is, that's where people like Michelle and others can help you. I mean, find your gift, but share that gift with others. I mean, that's what we are. It's going to sound frou-frou, but that's what we're put on this earth to do, is to share our gifts with others, to make an impact, to do
100%.
something bold and different.
Love it. You say that so well, Denise. Thank you so much for having me today. I absolutely have had a blast. Doesn't even feel like we've been talking that long. That's how much
I
fun
know it
it's
goes
been.
by so fast. I appreciate you being here. I'm super honored that you joined us. For those of us that are here on Team Replay, you can always give us a shout out with the hashtag Team Replay. Reach out to us. We'll try to include some of the links in the content below. I mean, in the comments below. We do these every Fridays at 10 a.m. Look forward to seeing everyone back here next week. Thank you for joining us. To all of those that are out there listening to us later, and especially to you, Michelle. I appreciate you.
Right back at you. Thank you, everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you.